This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com with Homage or Horrific. And what I'm looking at today is the 1988 movie, The Unholy, not the 2021 movie, The Unholy. Now, if you've seen the 1988 movie, you probably recognize these scenes. And this, and that. I don't know if anyone has called out The Unholy on plagiarism charges because the movie is essentially the same thing. The plot of The Unholy, for those who haven't seen the movie, revolves around a priest, played by Ben Cross, who is fighting the forces of Satan, which manifest in this beautiful woman. And I'll get back to her in a minute. Though what they're trying to do is tempt him. And once tempted, he can be taken by the demons. Though it can't happen before the temptation is complete. This is also a major plot point of the Sentinel, in the sense that the devils in that movie, entire modus operandi is to tempt people into doing their bidding. And once you're tempted, they can take you. It's the exact same movie. Though the thing is, The Sentinel is a much better movie. But The Unholy isn't bad. Though, as I said, if you're aware of The Sentinel, it is significantly worse because of it. The Unholy, by my reckoning, takes a more metaphysical approach to the material, which is to say, there are actual attempts to depict demons and devils and monsters and that type of thing. Effects by Bob Keane, by the way, who did Hellraiser, and for the most part they're pretty good, but the way it's shot, some of them look silly. But that being said, there is an attempt at least. While The Sentinel approaches things very much in a very human manner, which is to say, it plays more like The Shining, and it works a lot better. Unlike The Sentinel, The Unholy ruins this concept of temptation by making it universal in its depiction, which is to say, for the priest prior to Ben Cross's character coming into the film, this woman is the embodiment of temptation, of everything they could possibly want or imagine. This, as I said, is problematic. First off, because it's the same white woman. She's not unattractive, as you can see from the images, but she's hardly the most attractive thing anyone has ever seen. And the movie doesn't understand the nature of temptation, not really, because it would have been a much more effective movie if the producers instead had made the object of temptation shift based upon the person. As opposed to being consistently this ravishing redhead, make it a man. Make it another type of woman. Hell, make it an obese woman. The point being, effort by the producers to make it consistent undermines the movie considerably. Hell, if you want to go really profane, make it a child. Make a priest be tempted by a little child, and leave no ambiguity that threatening is of a sexual nature. Well, because the Catholic Church clearly has issues with priests and children. This could have, though that information wasn't out at the time this film was made, as far as I'm aware, though it would have made this movie a lot more effective. Though, as I said, The Unholy isn't a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. It just needed to try harder. And speaking of try harder, the thing about very involved prosthetic and animatronics is that if they don't look good, personally, I don't think you should do it. And good means different things to different people, obviously. But there's a point where, however they're staged and shot, they look silly. some of the creations in the Unholy not only look silly, they're almost adorable at certain points, which when you're depicting a demon is not typically the route you want to go. Contrast this with the vision of demons in Michael Winner's movie. To this day, I've seen few things as politically incorrect as the depiction of demons in the Sentinel, because what they use are people with deformities. And I see where they're going with it, but I can promise you this would not go over today very well at all. So you have people with physical deformities, you have midgets or little people, or however they want to be called, as proxies for demons and monsters. It works in the context of the movie, but my God, it's an offensive notion. It's remarkably offensive, and I suspect it was offensive at the time the Sentinel was produced, but Michael Winner did it anyway. Keep in mind, this is the director who directed Death Wish and many of its sequels. The guy's not afraid to be offensive. I mean that in the best possible way. Michael Winner, whether you like his work or not, and he's done enough stuff that some of it is not that great. Though some of those Death Wish movies I mentioned, in fact. But he's a very challenging director, and he's interesting. For my money, he's the Paul Verhoeven of his age, or Verheiden, however one pronounces that. And so he brings something that's fascinating to the Sentinel that the Unholy can't touch. So I suggest, if you haven't seen The Unholy, check it out. It's not a bad movie. Though, let me take that back. Well, in a sense. So if you haven't seen The Unholy, check it out. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. Though, watching The Sentinel, because I would hate to see someone watch The Unholy and not know that something not only better has been produced, but something that is very much the same movie. So as far as being a homage or horrific goes, I actually think The Unholy is a bit horrific, because it's not only not a great movie on its own, it's not a very original movie. Though, what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Homage or Horrific. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or follow. Peace.